This is Raymond Bryant, the phenomenal Psych NP, and we coming to you again. And I want to kind of piggyback on why I think it's essential, like essential, to start your own private practice. And I've been working as a Psych NP for a few years, and just to give you an example, how quickly things can turn around. So I've been in the game for about 8 years, and I work for a doctor, and we do pretty good, make pretty good money. And this is kind of going on the strength of why I think it's so important to establish your own thing. So working for this doctor, uh, we doing pretty good, and a couple of years go past, and I'm working at, I think I was rounding at 5 hospitals at the time. So I was generating a lot of money, a lot of income, seeing a lot of patients. And I thought life was like pretty sweet, pretty stable, everything was good. So he lost the hospital, and it was a pretty big contract. So that put like a dent in like half of my patient caseload, which means half of what I was earning uh kind of went down too, and it was very scary at the time. It was like, wow, man, how quickly, do you get humbled uh in this game. So it was at that time I realized that anything can happen to the doctor, which means, there's no money or no contract, so I'm stuck starting over and trying to maybe work at a hospital or something like that, or do something, a little bit more stable. And or two, he can just get tired, fire me, or whatever the case may be, and I don't have that income that I got so accustomed to having. So this is why I say it's essential to start your own thing. You got to start your practice and develop a pipeline. So if the doctor now decided to say, hey, Ray, we don't need you no more, or God forbid something happened to the dude that I'm working for, I have my own practice to fall on, and my practice is generating the income that I need to sustain, and it's mine. You know, I'm not gonna fire myself, so I'm not gonna do that. So it kind of works out. Now, I still work for the doctor inpatient just because it's a great referral source, and we'll get into that later about referral sources, and making sure you build a patient pipeline, so to speak, where they're transitioning to you outpatient from an inpatient setting. Just kind of a natural way things go, and it helps out. So a lot of people, you know, get their white coats, MPs, and they're happy to be called docs or nurse practitioners. And, they don't fully understand. We talked a little bit about the billing, and a lot of people don't fully understand just how much income they're generating for some of the hospitals. And what private practice does is it kind of puts you in a position to where you're your own boss. You set your schedule, your hours, and you're working for something that is yours, and it will actually pay you down the line. So with that doctor example, for instance, I've been with him now for 7, 8 years, and if we stop today, nothing. I have nothing in regards to the doctor. He has no attachment. Hey, sorry things didn't work out. Have a nice life. Nothing. So that was the risk and a gamble I took because I chose to work with him. He paid a little bit more than hospitals, and that was the gamble I took. And once that relationship is done, I built nothing. But in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working on my private practice. Now, you know, I'm prepared for that to happen. And not only that, you know, I'm in a position now where I can walk away from the practice and the practice still generates income revenue without me working. So now I want to build it up a little bit more because more is better sometimes. And what'll happen is eventually it will really generate income as I build this pipeline. It'll generate income, and I'll have nurse practitioners, and I'll have therapists, and I'll have things that are, working in a private practice, and it'll generate the income. Now I know a lot of people look at me and says, "Hey, well, you got nurse practitioners, you got therapists working for you. Isn't that like the same thing as you working for the doctor?" Well, no, not at all, because what I'm trying to teach the nurse practitioners that work for me is that, hey, you're here to learn, get knowledge, wisdom on the job, like training, and then hopefully you're going to open up your own practice yourself. Therapists can open up their own lane themselves. So, it's a starting point, not some place that I want somebody to retire from. Now, you just got some people out there that no matter what you tell them, teach them, they don't want the stress and things that comes with owning a business. So it's just easier for them to work for somebody. So uh, you just make things fair as possible. All my MPs and therapists, they understand billing and the splits and everything we do. We're pretty transparent with that, and everybody feels like it's fair. So as long as you do that, I think you'll be okay. Uh, so when you kind of like think about how most people get played, I think about these incremental raises that MPs get, and they're happy with these like 5% bonuses, or you make an extra $5 per patient. Or worse, they give you a title. Now they call you the executive nurse practitioner of the unit or something, and they don't increase your pay. You're thinking about doing a private practice thing, and immediately you start thinking about everything that can go wrong. That's what you start to think about. And when I started out, I literally had a laptop, and that was it, pretty much. A laptop and an EHR system. I eventually hired an office person, and it was me and my office person for years, maybe the first 2 years. And then we grew, we got a therapist, an MP, another therapist, another MP, and we just kept building that thing like that. And that's all you need. So if you can just wrap your mind around, like, all I need to start is a laptop and a little will, a little gumption, a little, stick to it to this. So, if that makes sense. You got to have that entrepreneur mindset, and really the only way you lose is if you quit. So you started off one day a week. You open up a couple hours a day. All you need is a laptop, a platform where you can do telemedicine, which comes with your EHR, and you just start seeing patients. And I think you'll be good. You'll learn everything you need to know. As you take that first step and start seeing patients, you're going to figure out the credentialing process. You're going to figure out, like, okay, I need help now, or we need to open up a second day. You're going to figure out, like, how to do marketing. All that stuff is going to come, but it's not going to come until after you set in motion. Sometimes you just need to get started. So if you're thinking about it, get started. It doesn't take a lot of money. Like I said, laptop, EHR, get you started. And then as you grow, we'll worry about that stuff when we get there. And this is why I actually started the podcast. This is why I wrote a book, because, when I say you can figure it out as you go, I wanna correct myself in a sense of get started right away. Like, don't wait to get started. Don't think you need to know everything to get started. So that's what I want to clear up. But the way you get started is you need mentorship by somebody that's already doing it. Whether it's watching this podcast, whether it's, you got a friend in private practice, whether you got somebody that's doing it and doing it at a successful level that can, we talked about it, bring down your success tax, bring down that tuition that you're going to have to pay, and it can literally save you thousands, uh, just thousands. So I always say, if you're a business, a legitimate business, every business needs core values. Every business needs a mission statement. You got to know where you're going, and you got to have the values that's going to get you there. So, whether it's hard work, discipline, whether it's goal oriented, whether it's, patient centered, whatever your goals is, everybody that comes to work with you, everybody that's aligned with you need to have those core values. So you don't want to bring nobody in the business that don't have those core values. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part about, when we start to scale and hiring people and bringing the right people in to help you scale. But mentorship, I, I, I can't tell you enough how important being coached is. You know, I can have the best playbook in the world, okay? I can have all the plans and everything written out, but if I don't have a coach that's like teaching me how to execute those plans, it's not gonna come out right. You're just not gonna be successful as you should, as you possibly could be. Like, you can't achieve the amount of success that it takes, that you probably want to take. I guess that's what I'm saying. But without the coaching, without the mentor. So, and you're gonna fall and make mistakes that you wouldn't normally have made had you had a mentor as well. So mentors are very important. Coaches is very important. So those are things that we definitely have to focus on. Um, and a lot of times, I get people that says, well, that's a scam. Coaching program is a scam. All they want is your money. Oh, you go to these seminars, these workshops, everybody wants their money. Well, I'm here to tell you, the best investment is kind of like buying into you, investing into yourself. Like, personal development is a must. So you can't be scared to invest because in yourself, because the ROI is just going to be huge. Like, you scared to put $200, $400, whatever the cost of these courses are, into that, not understanding that it's going to save at least that much in mistakes. And you're going to probably, whatever information you just got, you're probably going to use that to make thousands of dollars. So we have to reframe that. And, and I'm not saying you just go spending money on any random course. Of course, you want to do your due diligence, but get in the mind frame of books, seminars, workshops, programs. Like, you need those things because, again, like I said, a business person will not do good in most cases, playing NP and NPs, unless you got a mentor in business, you're not going to do too good playing business because we just don't have a background for that. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So it's like you have to reframe your mind and to look at this thing like for what you're really investing in. So I always like to use my older self. So, and the things that I'm doing today, I always think about like, hey, my 55, 60-year-old self, would that guy be proud of the decisions I'm doing today. So I just feel like when it comes to like programs, coaching, and investing money and all that stuff in myself, I just feel like it's a no-brainer because it's gonna help me build this practice. There's so many things in business that I don't know, and if I'm making $100,000 a year, but somebody's making $1 million a year, the gap is, again, is always education. It's always a piece of information he got that we don't have. So I need to see what it is he knows that I don't know. And you got to remember why you're doing this in the first place. I already told you that the working for the doctors, the hospital gigs, they're not promised. You can be fired, let go. Anything can change up at any given time, and you right back on Indeed looking for another job. And, depending on how you set yourself up, most of these jobs are not going to start off paying what you thought they were going to pay to sustain your life. So you're buying freedom, and kind of like, what does freedom, bring? So, you time freedom. Now you got time to, once you build this thing. Now in the beginning, you're not going to have time. Okay, you're going to be working pretty much every day, holidays, weekends. But the idea is to build this thing up so your future self, my 55, 60-year-old self, will, be, have time to do things, because now this business is just a machine and it's working on its own. And it takes, 5 to 10 years to build it, but now it's working on its own, it's sustaining itself. And now, I have that situation where I'm not totally dependent on a hospital or a doctor for income. So every dime you put into yourself, you got to think about, like, this is investing in the business that's going to eventually take care of me down the road.